And then in that album, you guys continued on the road and you reached 2001 already, man. Right there, 100% Charlie Brown Jr.
100% Charlie Brown. There were songs like Man, Lugar ao Sol, Como Tudo Deve Ser. These are songs that played a lot on the radio too.
And you guys kept the same vibe, an amazing show.
And it was a challenge to record. You were asking about recording, how you guys composed and recorded. It's a challenge, right, man? Especially to record the album because you're doing shows nonstop. You leave the show, go back to the studio to record, then go to the show, come back, and it doesn't stop, my brother. It's something like you don't get a break, right, man?
And there's also something here that I was even talking to Digom about when he came here. If you live this pace for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, go ahead. But there comes a time, man, when it's such a crazy pace that it seems like you need to hear someone from outside say, guys, we have to think of you, not just as a group of 20-year-olds, but start thinking of a career as something more extensive. Because otherwise, you'll destroy yourselves, right?
Yeah, there's wear and tear too, right?
Man, it's like 100 shows a year, 120 shows a year, 24 hours of Le Mans. You don't stop.
The 24 hours of Le Mans, right? You don't stop, right? It's up to you. Just change the driver and everything's good, my brother.
There comes a time when your body starts giving signs that, man, this lifestyle here isn't sustainable forever. And you also start to experience irritability, stress from being around others because you're stressed from not sleeping well. So you're already more stressed than your colleague. You're a calm guy, right, by nature. But, man, Charon was a super reactive guy. I think Charlie Brown had very different personalities.
I think that wasn't the asset the band had, because it's important to have this combination, to add up the differences. I think it's something that adds a lot. So there were both sides.
But until then, was the atmosphere among you still very friendly? Were the conflicts you had quickly manageable as well?
Yeah, well, like, man, Charlie Brown always had a turbulent side, you know. It was always a band that had a turbulent side, and that turbulent side started to become more pronounced, right? Precisely because of the seasoning of the road, you know. Damn, you don't sleep. You're under the pressure of, damn, you have to make the album and so on. You're in a violent pressure cooker. So there were also our differences, which went through various different topics, you understand. And over time, this really wore us down, right, man? And it's complicated, right? Dealing with all of this, because I think the other day I heard someone talking about this, which I found quite interesting. Being successful is not just about having talent. It goes far beyond that. You also have to know how to deal with other people. If you have talent too, then it starts to get better because it's difficult. We are human beings. We all have our problems, our different feelings.
There's that whole issue that soon, man, it's not just, well, it's a band, it's a body. Soon, everyone has their own individuality. You start maturing, growing in life, forming your own family. One gets married, one has a child. Well, you're no longer with, in my mind, it's not just Charlie Brown Jr.
I think you touched on an interesting point there, because what happens, you start to become successful, then you start making money, right? Money, it gives you freedom. It brings you the freedom to perhaps be who you truly are, doesn't it? I mean, some will want one thing, others will want another. And then maybe this also creates a bigger conflict, right, man? Because when you don't have success, don't have money, everyone is there without that freedom, you understand. So let's row in that direction. The focus is there, you get it. When you start to have a lot of this freedom, it's natural that you begin to have certain conflicts, certain strains, right, man? And it wasn't different with us.
There's also, for example, what we were talking about. Each one starts building their own family, right?
Yes.
And then you, for example, take it home and share it with your wife. Man, yesterday I had a disagreement with a guy from the band. Your wife is going to take your side. And then the vocalist took it to his wife, and his wife is going to take his side. That must happen a lot. And you're stewing over that thing for 6 months with your wife's support and the other with his wife's support. And then there comes a time when this issue comes up. Man, but then, dude, it explodes. Right?
Yeah. I think one of the secrets we learn is exactly that. right, man? Not to take everything home with you, man? Because otherwise, it even makes your own relationship awkward, right? Because it keeps revolving around the same issue all the time.
Did you manage to do that?
Oh, man, I learned how to do it. I really think it's better, man. And to understand that there are things that don't change, right, man? There are things you have to adapt to, right, man?
Interesting. Things don't change.
That don't change. That don't change. So you have to find a way to make it work in the best way possible. So it's quite a challenge. It's no wonder that bands, damn man, many don't last.
There are many that last a long time, but it's like Fleetwood Mac, right? The rehearsal was with a lawyer. Did you know that, didn't you?
No.
Each one went with their lawyer to the rehearsal. Damn, what a mess. Sorry? No, it's like to the point where, man, we've been together for 40, 30 years. No one can stand each other, but this is our profession. Everyone needs this money to survive. No one can look at each other, so when one guy has to talk to another, he does it through the lawyer,
Yeah, communication, right, man? I think communication is something that's very important, even if it's in my view, wrong and for the other, right? Or vice versa. I think communication, if you can have protocols, and people respect the protocols. Were they able to do that? We managed to, quite a bit. Up to a certain point, we managed. So I think that's where it works. Regardless of what you think, or not, there's a protocol. Things will work like this. So you adapt better, But for us, man, today, stopping to think, looking back, it was all very intense, right, man? You stop to think about what you said. Man, it was a show all the time. We were one of the most played songs. We had to be in the studio recording, promoting. There wasn't much time for you to breathe and reflect a lot. You had to go there and do it, man. You understand. So you were put to the test, right? And our home was the bus. It was there. Us together. Us and our family. That's how it was, right, man? So families also fight, right, man? There are also problems.
It's like marriage, man, right? And there's also a point that you, as a band, are aging, but you're aging as members, right? People, individuals. And the guy who is up to 20 years old has one mindset. From 20 to 30, it's another mindset. From 30 to 40, it's another mindset. And from 40 to 50, it's another mindset. You can't be the same teenager. You can't be the same young adult. So, man, you change as a human being, and everyone changes in their own way, right, man? And I think that's something that's really crazy.
No, and I think the family, you touched on an important point. I think the family is very sacrificed, Because if you stop to think, man, you're going to spend practically every weekend of the year away from your family, away from your child, away from your wife. And these people in your family, let's look at the life around them. Everyone going out on the weekend, families taking a stroll in the mall. And not her, So, it's really tough. I think it's much harder for those who are with us than for us. And we're there playing, we're making our dream happen, we're with the band. Whether there are problems or not, but for those who stay behind, it's not easy. Not to mention the insecurity, right? Because, damn, there are a lot of women around. There's a bunch of crap that happens, right, man? So it puts the marriage to the test.
And did your wife handle all of this well?
We've been married for 23 years, right?
No, we're talking about this. We're talking about being married for a long time. I congratulated and said, hey, congratulations, Marcao. Being married for 23 years as a rock star is difficult. I mean, you made it work, but it was hard for her. It was hard for her.
It was hard for her because, well, she's from Rio, right? She worked at Globo. When I met her, she wasn't a rock fan. She didn't even know who I was. Actually, we met at the airport there. We started chatting. And then she had contact with this universe, which was a completely different world. She was in the executive area of TV Globo, wore business suits and all. So it was very difficult for her. Why? Because she moved to a different city, right, man? So she had a change. Imagine Denise, many friends in Rio, big family. Then suddenly she moved to Santos and started living with me that life where, damn, every weekend I was away.
And she didn't go with you?
She didn't go. She rarely went, maybe to a show or two, right? But she couldn't keep up because the schedule was it was a brutal schedule. There was one time I took her, it was even funny, one of the shows, it wasn't on purpose. But I took her to a show in Sciarra. We played in Crato. I think it was a 12-hour bus ride from Fortaleza to Crato at the time. Then I remember after that, she came the next weekend and I said, hey, do you want to... No, go ahead. Now go there. It's all good. Man, I don't know how you handle it. I don't know how you handle it, man. Because it's tough, man. It's really tough. So she had to adapt to all of this, man. It wasn't easy for her. No. But then she ended up adapting and then...
Yeah, and after a child is born, I think what starts to weigh more is on you, right? After you have a child, it hits you and you think, man, I want to be more involved, right? And then how am I going to keep up when... What year was your child born? Born in 2010? Had you already left? Charlie Brown by then? Yes. Okay, so we'll get to that. So, man, we're talking about Bocas Ordinarias already in 2002, yeah. And then, what hits were on that album?
Well, there was Straight Talk. Just for One Night. Those were the two singles.
And it continued with the same vibe, lots of shows. The band was solidified, right?
The band, man. We did a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. The band was mega solidified. We ended up winning the MTV Awards again, man. Audience Day Choice, Best Band, Best Rock Video. We were doing a lot of TV shows, which at the time TV was much more relevant than it is today, right, man? Today, someone goes on a Sunday show and people don't even know, right? Back then you did a show, a Faustone, something big, my brother. You filled your schedule with shows. So, and the cool thing about that time is that I think Charlie Brown, man, was a band like genuinely rock. They didn't even make much pop sound, you know? So it was real black shirt rock, and the band was staying there, holding the helm of rock and roll strong and steady and gaining all this notoriety. And yes, it wasn't politically correct at all, right, man? So it was a really cool, very genuine moment, like from Choron's side, because he was always a guy like that, right, man, without much holding back, without filters. And there, we were 100% in that vibe, you know? And the band was a huge hit, really awesome.
It's because we say what we did was just perform shows, record on TV and radio programs.
Come on.
But just that, guys, easy job, right? Definitely, getting on stage or being on the program is one thing, right? And the waiting for all of that is what's complicated, right? The procedures, not the logistics, right?
It's that thing, the show lasts, I don't know, 2 hours, right? Now you travel 12 hours to play for 2. That calculation, right? You start doing it, I'm going to travel 8, 10 hours to play for 2, then another 10 to return. It's a calculation that calls for teleportation, right?
That's good. Yeah, man. We're active. It was in 2004. There was a little 2-year hiatus.
No, we recorded the acoustic, right? In the meantime, in 2000, and after Bocas, we in 2003, right? Bocas was in 2002. In 2003, we recorded the acoustic for MTV.
It was an explosion.
It was a huge explosion, too. It took the band to a niche. In terms of touring, it was different even. We played at fairs, exhibitions. It was everything we weren't used to playing. So it was a mega schedule. We did a world tour, going through 3 continents. It was a really crazy thing. Then I got back into activity.
But nothing changed. In that regard, always the same process, right? Radio, television, shows, composing on the road and such, they continued like that.
Yeah, because the routine back then was like this. You first had to play on the radio, and if you did well on the radio, you had the chance to go on TV. Going on TV, you reached more people, you know? Then the better shows, which were Josua's show, Faustone. That's how it worked back then. There wasn't this streaming like today. Today you have this wonderful thing, which I also think is cool in a way, right? It's more democratic, right? But I think it's more democratic, at least.
So a few ordinary ones would... No, we're still active, which worked well too.
It worked too. There were, well, some great songs, like Champagne Agua Benta. We're still active. And the song still plays a lot today. It has a heavy beat. Also, this album even won a Grammy. Not that I care much about it, about awards, but in the end, when we win, we like it. So we won the Grammy, which until then was an award we didn't have. Gramophone, right, man? It's the Latin Grammy. Latin Grammy Best Rock Humor. Musical Immunity 2005. That's already the phase. When I left, I disconnected from the band.